So Andy, we have 45 minutes or an hour. How long do we have for the webinar?
We have an hour, but typically we last probably about 45 minutes. So I think, and we'll have to, just so we have time for questions.
Yeah, so webinar plus, the presentation plus demo, 45 minutes, and then we leave 15 for the questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, that should be plenty.
So Manoj, if you want to just share your opening slide, you have that up on the screen.
Okay, yeah.
And then we can make sure that that's all working as well.
Let me do that. Oh, so you'll have to give me access to share.
Oh, you should have. That happens. That's what I just wanted to check that was happening. Right. You should have. There we go.
You can see it.
Perfect.
Thank you everyone for joining. We'll be kicking off in about 5 minutes. Give everyone a little bit of time to join in, any late stragglers. Excited to show you Pulseway's automated email security offering. Just powered by Graphis. If you have questions throughout, feel free to drop them in the queue in the question section, and we'll answer them during our Q&A session. So any questions are welcome. We're excited to have everyone here. We got a full house today. So thank you so much for making an effort to join this showcase of automated email security. We're excited to show you what this has to offer. We'll be kicking off in about 4 minutes. It's giving people a little bit of time. Again, if you have questions, drop them in the questions mark. We're happy to answer them. Again, we're happy to have everyone here. The recording will be on YouTube. It's live streaming there now as well, so that you can use that later on at any point to share with your colleagues, anyone that missed the session. Also, you can talk to your account managers directly, and they can maybe organize a personalized demo for you too if you need to showcase to the team. Yes. Okay. So actually a fun comment where penalizing people who show up on time. That is true. But there's always a late strangler, so we can kick off in about a minute. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Those of you that showed up on time get a special thank you. Okay. Free NFR accounts. Maybe. If you stick around till the end. That's bonus points. Okay, so we can kick off, Andy, if you want to get started. I think we got almost a full house.
I think so. I think we do as well. Thanks. And yeah, thank you everybody for attending. As my colleague there said, we appreciate your time. And it is great that you can join us for the launch of Pulseway Automated Email Security powered by Graphis. And it gives me a great pleasure to introduce Manoj Srivastava, who is the CEO and co-founder of Graphis, and actually is a bit of a veteran around the whole cybersecurity industry. So he knows, what he doesn't know about cybersecurity, particularly email security, probably isn't worth knowing. So I'll leave you in good hands, and as I hand you over to Manoj, and just to remind you, if you do use the Q&A function, not the chat function, because we can keep more of a track of the Q&A function. We'll attempt to answer all your questions. We'll have some time at the end of the webinar, and if we don't, we'll get back to you after the webinar if we can't get to all the questions in time. So with no further ado, I'll hand over to Manoj. Thanks, Manoj.
Thank you, Andy. And thanks everyone for joining us today for this webinar. So today, we'll be talking about the automated email security in detail. And the plan is that I'll give you some context on the product, how it works, how it is different. And then we will also do a live demo of the product immediately after the PowerPoint presentation. So just a brief overview on Graphis. Our mission is to simplify and automate phishing defense. Now, when we talk about phishing defense, we are not just talking about phishing as in credentials theft, but we're also talking about the entire email security of your email environment. Any kind of social engineering, targeted attacks, threats, they're all covered by our platform. So one of the issues that we found was the systems are too complex and not automated enough, which are causing a bulk of issues. Right now, we are based out of US. We founded the company in 2015. 10 plus years of experience focused on social engineering detection, targeting enterprises, high-end enterprises, government agencies, etc., has gone into the making of this product. And we have 2 issued patents as well. We are supporting MSP partners as well as end user customers from diverse industries across the board. So, I mean, being an MSP or an IT, internal IT personnel, you already are aware of the threat that is targeting email users. And this threat has grown exponentially in the year 2020, primarily because of work from home issues, right? Everybody is working from home, relying on their email to get the official work done. And we have seen some serious increase in the incidents compared to prior years. 600% overall increase in phishing attacks or the tactics of phishing or social engineering that is being leveraged. Earlier, we used to see 1 in 3 successful breach starting with a phishing attack. Now we see 9 in 10. That's a huge number. 80% of the C-suite individuals are being spoofed in the phishing tactics, targeting their employees. And the average losses are like 130,000 US dollars and trending up as this tactics gets more popular with the bad guys. So to take a step back, let's talk about the challenges which are being faced by MSPs as well as IT teams when it comes to email security. So the number one challenge that we hear from our customers and prospects is that of missed attacks. Now, spam filters have been around for a long time, right? And they have evolved to look at some threats as well. But the fact of the matter is that they're still missing, targeted, sophisticated attacks, spoofing or identity impersonation, making it to the end users. So that's number one complaint or challenge, that despite secure email gateways and Microsoft ADP, etc., attacks are getting passed. The second big area of concern or challenge that we hear about is that a lot of organizations today, they are using some form of phishing awareness training. And despite training their employees, what they're finding is that 20 to 25% of those trained employees are still unable to detect these sophisticated attacks and are falling victim for it, right? So despite training, that thing is still happening. Now, a related issue of employee training or the end user error is that once you have trained the employees, the end users, what you tell them is that if you see something suspicious, forward it to IT, so IT can investigate it. If it is a threat, they can act on it. If not, they'll let you know about it. So this is leading to this IT or help desk overload, where emails get forwarded. 80% of those emails are spam emails, marketing emails, right? Some of them are like more targeted spam. But 1 in 100 could be an attack, and the IT is unable to get through all these emails which are forwarded to them because they don't have the right tools to investigate these emails efficiently and effectively. On average, it takes anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes for IT to investigate these emails. Now, the follow-on challenge is, let's say, after investigating hundreds of emails, you found one which was an actual attack. Now you have no idea that who else received this email in the environment and how to go about, scoping it and mitigating the threat that your organization might be exposed to. So that is because of the lack of tools, visibility, and control into the email platform. So these 4 areas, they comprehensively sort of categorize the challenges which are being faced. And Graphis, as an application, as a tool for email security, helps you address all these 4 areas of challenges. And we'll get into the details of how Graphis does that. So let's take a step back and look at what the email flow or ecosystem looks like. So the emails are coming from the internet on the left-hand side, various security controls, email platform in between are doing their job. And then finally, a recipient on the right-hand side is able to access those emails using their Outlook client, browser, or any other email application that they might be using. So the important thing over here to observe is that Graphis is unlike other email security controls, which are upstream to the email servers, right? So things like Barracuda, Mimecast, Proofpoint, Bitdefender, Microsoft ATP, etc. They first receive the email, they do their job, in terms of finding spam filtering it, other threats, and then they pass it on to the email server. Graphis integrates with these email servers through API, right? And because of that, it is able to extend the capabilities of your email platform itself. And there's a huge advantage to this architecture that we'll talk on the next slide. But right away, you can see that Graphis can coexist with your other security controls that are upstream, right? Giving an added layer of security. So that's how Graphis fits into the end-to-end system. Now let's look at how it works. So as I mentioned, Graphis is an application. It's an Office 365 app for your Microsoft 365 email environment. It's a G Suite app for your G Suite email environment, right? So that's also important. Let me mention that Graphis supports cloud email platforms. So Office 365 and G Suite are the two leading platforms supported by Graphis. So to activate it, essentially, you have to go into your customer console, into your system console for 365 or G Suite, and simply give permissions to the Graphis app. And literally in a few minutes, you are up and running. Now I will show this to you in the demo as well, so you can see for yourself how easy it is to activate your end customers. Now the other advantage of this particular architecture is that you don't have to change any MX records or redirect your email flow. You don't have to install any endpoint agents or any browser plugin for the functionality to work. Everything is cloud native, hosted in the AWS environment, and in few minutes, step one is completed. Step two is all about Graphis initializing its underlying algorithms. So Graphis uses AI technology, and we have called it Truss Graph. What it is doing in the initialization is it is going into history of your email server and looking at all the emails that have been sent prior by senders. And it is analyzing those emails, creating a profile for the senders, a trust rating, and a unique fingerprint. So the important thing to point out over here is that you don't have to write any security policies or filters or how to detect attacks or what type of threats to detect. Graphis does all that for you, and it keeps up to date by constantly doing this profiling for all new senders once the system is up and running, right? So that is very fundamental to Graphis in terms of detecting, the most sophisticated attacks due to spoofing, impersonation, account takeover attacks, and stuff like that. So step three essentially is, emails are coming in. Graphis starts scoring them, and if the score is found to be high, it quarantines those emails so the recipient never sees them. Now, the other thing that Graphis does is that if the score is not high enough to be quarantined, but it is suspicious, Graphis uses a technology called Employee Shield, and I'll show you what it looks like and how it works in subsequent slides. Now, the other important thing that I want to point out over here is that Graphis also looks at processes internal emails. So an employee A sending an email to employee B is also processed and monitored for threats. Now, oftentimes what happens is an employee's account gets compromised because they went on a bad website, downloaded a malware or a rat, and through which they lost the credentials to their email account. And now a bad actor is logged into their account, sending emails to employees to compromise their accounts, trying to get to the system administrators, get to the higher privileged users, and do further bad things. So those threats are also detected and protected by Graphis, which is not the case with upstream solutions because they don't see internal emails. They only see what's coming in, and in some cases, what's going out. So just to give you a little bit more insight into the Truss Graph, it is analyzing 50 different attributes of email communication, building a trust relationships and a profile, unique fingerprints, and then using it to detect and prevent sophisticated targeted attacks targeting your environment, including phishing, spear phishing, business email compromise, etc. I talked about Employee Shield. So what you see on the right-hand side in the magenta color is what an Employee Shield looks like. Before I get into the technical details, you can customize the Employee Shield, the look and feel, through the MSP portal, through the customer portal. You can change the Graphis name at the top left to something else, to your own organization. You can change the color to your logos, therefore, bring your branding to the end user. You can. So the other thing you can do is you can also relabel, what you call these action links at the bottom. Now, I'll show this to you in the demo, but the important things to notice over here are that the warning message over here is not generic message. It's not a static message. It is specific to the email for which this alert, this employee shield is being generated. The intent of the message is to inform the recipient so that they can take an action by either clicking on report phishing or clicking on report false positive. The moment they click on report phishing, the email is instantly quarantined, not only for that recipient, but for any other recipient in the environment who received the same message. So it's instant threat mitigation. And if they click on report false positive, then the banner disappears. They can go ahead and answer the email or do anything else that they want to. Now, when they would click report false positive is when they read the warning message and say, this is okay. I'm okay with the anomalies. I actually interacted with this person. It's a follow-up email or whatever else the context that they may have, which is not present in the email server. They are informed and they can take the right action. Now, the other important thing about this employee shield is that it is not using a browser plugin. So it works on any device, right? You could be using iPhone, Android, Mac, PC, and any email application. It could be Outlook client, it could be browser, it could be any of your other email clients on your phone, etc. It works independent of any devices and applications. So it is pervasive and available in any environment. So that's very powerful. Moving on, Graphis provides a third layer of security beyond quarantining as well as the employee shield. Now, the use case over here is that an employee has been trained or they receive an email which doesn't have an employee shield on it, but they're not comfortable with the email. They think that, hey, this looks like an attack. It's suspicious. I want IT to look at it. So for this scenario, Graphis allows for a dedicated designated inbox email address that the recipient can forward the email to for IT to look at. Now, the important thing of this capability is that it automates the workflow. The moment an end user forwards an email, it is immediately quarantined for all recipients. So if it was indeed a threat, it has been mitigated instantly. Now, once that's done, IT is notified through real-time notification, and they can log into the MSP or customer portal, and an automation wizard helps them close the ticket within 30 seconds. They view certain key elements within the platform that will tell them whether it is a spam email, whether it is a malicious email. And if it's a malicious email, they simply close the ticket. The email stays in quarantine. The reporter is notified that, hey, thank you for forwarding. This was a bad email, and has been taken care of. The other things which are happening in the background are that the system is learning from these actions. So if it was a malicious email, as determined by the IT, then the system will learn the attributes of this bad email and will evolve to prevent similar emails from reaching to the end user. And if the IT marked it as, let's say, not harmful, then the email is instantly returned automatically to the inboxes of the end users, and they can go ahead and do what they need to do. And they're also informed that the IT has taken action, it was found harmless, and it is okay for them to act on it. So all this automation is built into the system to keep the load to absolutely minimum on MSPs and IT. And the system essentially works, in an auto mode between quarantining, employee shield, and Fish 911. The other important thing for our MSP customers is that they have a multi-tenant MSP portal, which allows them to onboard end customers literally in minutes, manage all their customers from a single pane of glass, and also be able to integrate certain workflows with their PSA software or the ticketing software, etc. And again, I'll show you a glimpse of this in the product demo. Now, before we move on to the demo, I want to show you some highlights from last year. We looked at our customer base and extracted some interesting numbers. So the numbers that you see are per customer per month. And on average, we are processing, Graphis is processing 500,000 emails per customer. And this number is after spam filtering, right? The number of zero-day or catastrophic attacks detected, is pretty high. The average savings per customer based on the automation is again in the range of 100 of hours. And the potential breaches that are being prevented per customer per month, again, is a big number. Now, there are some customers, or there are quite a few customers we have which are bigger targets, skewing the numbers on the higher side, but you get the picture. The product is paying for itself literally in a few months of operations. On the right-hand side, you will see the type of attacks and tactics that are being detected in the environment. So business email compromise scams, they take the largest volume in terms of what's happening, phishing, trusted identity spoofing, drive-by download malwares, malicious attachments, organizational spoofing, etc. They form the key attacks which are being detected by Graphis. So let me take a moment here to share with you my browser so I can walk you through the demo. Give me a second for that. I shall bring that up shortly. Okay. You should be seeing my browser screen now. What I will do is I will log in to the portal by going to this URL. Now, this URL is specific to our customers in North America. We have a similar URL for our customers in Europe and EMEA region. So depending upon where you are, you will get the relevant URL. So when you become an MSP or an end user or an MME customer, you will receive a login. So now I am logging in as a customer, as an MSP. So when I log in, I can see all my customers right there. These are the various customers I have. These are the various types of customers, Office 365 or G Suite. And I'll get to what these paid in boxes, etc. means. Start date, renewal date is the subscription date. And what is the status? Are they active? Are they, in process of activation, etc.? Now, this is a demo environment. People are creating new organizations and doing stuff. But let me go ahead and show you how you would onboard an end customer. So I simply click on the Add Organization button. I'll give an org name over here. I give, their domain name. I provide the email address, right? And I'll go ahead and complete this so you can see the next steps, right? So I provide some sort of a subscription period. And let me go ahead and choose Office 365. I can choose either, but let me choose Office 365. And then I click on Add Organization. Okay, so it seems somebody has already created this. I will go back and just create something new for this. New, let me just call it pulseway.org.com. Right, so let's just do this quickly. Pick some data over here and say add organization. So at this point, a shell organization has been created with the admin email address. And that is right over here. It has been created. I'll go ahead and activate it. So when I'm going to activate, the first thing I do is I generate a certificate. So when I click on that, you will see that a certificate will be downloaded locally on your inbox. And that's the certificate I'm going to use in step 2. So I click. So step 2 is essentially performed in your Office 365 admin console for Azure Active Directory. So I simply go ahead and follow these steps. These steps are essentially telling me to create an app right here, provide, like different permissions that are needed by the app. So these various steps you will follow. And when you are done following these steps, which are nothing but clicking on certain buttons, you will have an application ID for Graphis. You will enter that over here. You will have a client secret, that application that Graphis will use to connect to the email server. And you will enter that, and you'll click on Activate Organization. That's it in terms of activating a new customer. The moment you click on it, you will be given a time frame on how long the activation will take from an initialization perspective, and you are up and running. That's how simple it is to activate new end customers. The next thing I want to show you is that once a customer is activated, what else information is present to you. But before I do that, let me just quickly give you an overview of the MSP portal. This is where your organizations are. You can see the paid inboxes. These are the inboxes that this organization is paying for. It's a subscription. Graphis actually provides you a lot more protection for inboxes than the actual subscription you pay for. And let me show you quickly for this customer before I go to the MSP portal. So I come and click on accounts. When I do that, I will see two numbers over here. Paid licenses, this is what the end customer is paying you, and you are paying, to Pulseway. Protected is the total inboxes protected. So you have inboxes like shared inboxes, some guest inboxes, which are receiving from the email. Graphis provides that to you for free and only charges for what you are paying to Office 365. So you're getting a bigger bang for your buck. So that's for how licensing works. And of course, we can provide more details subsequent, to this demo by talking to your account manager. So let me go back to the orgs, to the MSP portal. I'm in the Insights dashboard now. Now in the Insights dashboard, I can see all the all the customers that are active, and I can extend the time period to look at bigger numbers over here. Right? I'll just refresh to a longer period so I can see some numbers, given that, this is a demo environment. So I can see, like, in this time period, 53 attacks have been quarantined, 7 Fish 911 reports have been generated, and certain unsafe emails have been deleted by the end customers, which had the end users, which had the employee shield on it. So we'll get into more details over here. But this is on the left side, accounts is where you will create more MSP accounts simply by creating add users over here, right? Simple and straightforward. The other important thing over here is that you have an audit trail. So you will be able to see basically anything and everything that the users are doing in the MSP portal environment. All actions are audited, so that cannot be changed. So for security reasons, you can review what the users are doing. So let me do one thing now. So this is the MSP portal, straightforward. I'll jump into the customer portal, to an end customer portal. So this is where you can see all the details for your customers for this given period, what's really happening, number of attacks quarantined, the type of attacks that have been quarantined. Each of these are hot links, so you can dig deeper into the details of it. The employee shields generated, again, hot links. Phishing reports, you can dig deeper into those, and I'll show you what they are. You can see how the end users are interacting with the employee shield, right? You can see other details. On the left-hand side, you have the quarantine folder where you can look at the quarantine emails, alerts folder where you can see all the employee shields generated, and the Fish 911 folder where all the Fish 911 reports have been submitted. I'll show you the details of this, how to deal with them, how to address Fish 911 reports. But before I do that, let me show you some of the other tabs, which are, let's say, reports. This is the executive report, which is generated every once a month. There's an archive maintained for all the reports that have been generated. You can click on it and see the what it looks like. So this is where, it'll go to your end customer. These are the various metrics which are being reported to them. And of course, this will be customizable, so you can have your logo and brand that you can show to your end customer. This is where the accounts for the end customer can be created. So some of our MSP partners like to create, accounts for their end customers so the end customer can co-manage. So that's one use case for allowing you creation of accounts for an end customer portal. The other use case is that, let's say, within your MSP environment or some of the MSP users, you want to give them access to only certain clients. You can do that by creating accounts for them over here and not giving them MSP accounts at the MSP level, right? So that's how it would work. The other important thing is settings for an end customer. And there are certain things that I want to highlight, that how simple and easy it is to do it. There's not much to do in terms of configuring any threads and all, but simple things that you do want to do and how quickly you can do them. So when you are creating an end customer account, you can basically turn on or off various privileges that they can have, right? And I'll show you what these actions are when I get into one of the alerts in these folders on the left-hand side. Now, I had talked about Fish 911 configuration. Now, the instructions are pretty simple, straightforward. All you have to do is provide a dedicated inbox. It should not be something that you're using for a user or any other purpose, because any emails forward over here are instantly quarantined. You can use a shared inbox, and that helps you save a license, for using for Fish 911. You can enable real-time notification. So the moment somebody sends a report, you can have a real-time notification for that. And if you don't like real-time notifications because the threat has already been mitigated, you can simply turn it off, right? So that's how simple Fish 911 configuration is. Now, I talked about the employee shield customization. So this is where you will come in and you will basically give your organization name, right? Your org name goes over here, and simply you do it, it'll come over here. You can change the background color to something else, to your own company logo, and it'll change over here, right? So all this you can do and save it at the bottom. Now, the other important thing about the employee shield is that you can actually control the rollout. Instead of allowing or enabling employee shield for all protected accounts, you can first roll it out for certain users, test it out, get the communication out, and then when you are prepared, when your employees are prepared, then you can roll it out for the entire customer base. So all this you can manage from here. Now, one thing that I did not talk about earlier is executive spoofing. Now, this is an added layer on top of identity spoofing, organizational spoofing, etc., which the system is doing out of the box. Now, the twist over here is that instead of specifying email addresses, you can give any name, any username in your organization, a display name, and this display name will be monitored in incoming emails. And if there are other indicators of threat present in those emails, and the tactics essentially is somebody trying to leverage your CEO's name or other trusted user's name as part of like social engineering, then those emails can either be quarantined or an employee shield can be put on it. So this is yet another layer. There is no limitation of number of display names you can have over here, and simply by saving it, that protection is started immediately. So that's how executive spoofing would work. Now, some of the other interesting things you can do is you can add email addresses to your daily, weekly reports which are being generated by simply adding email addresses. So let's say you want to add your customer's name over here without giving them access to the portal. You can simply specify their email address. It could be any email address that you can have over here, and a PDF report will be sent to them on the frequency that you choose. Then I had also talked about integrating with your ticketing system. Now, this is where you will come and you'll pick where you want to integrate alerts. Simply choose them, provide the credentials, and save it, and it's a one-click activation. For things that are not explicitly supported for one click, you can choose to integrate through a file-based system, and you can also choose whether you want the alerts in JSON or detailed messages. Anyhow, we can provide you more details on how to do it. and there are templates and documentation and videos to help you do all this pretty seamlessly. And then at the customer level as well, an audit trail is supported. So anyone who has access to the customer environment, their actions are audited. These are read, write, etc. kind of actions, that you can audit. You can export them into your log management system and do audits in a centralized manner if you want to. The other thing I want to point out is that you have access to the knowledge base. You can look at various capabilities and get instant help on that. So that's pretty much it. Everything has been automated. It's very simple, intuitive, and the algorithms do the heavy lifting for you in terms of detecting the threats and the 3 layers, protecting against in terms of quarantining, employee shield for warning and instant action, as well as Fish 911. So that's in a summary in terms of how Graphis helps you. Now, while we are at it, I do want to point out some key differences that we have with secure email gateways. One obviously is the ease of activation your end customers, but the other important things are that you don't have to do anything in terms of threat policies, definition, self-learning, and the AI algorithms are doing for you. The internal email attacks, which go undetected by secure email gateways, etc., are being detected by Graphis, and the highly targeted attacks, the social engineering, spoofing, etc., are being detected. So that's in a nutshell. What I'll do now is, Andy, I'll bring it back to you and open for taking the questions from our audience today.
Okay, thanks very much, Manoj. We've had a few questions that we've been answering as you've been going along, but we have a few more. And again, if anybody wants to ask any questions, type them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them during this section. So Alex has asked quite a good question: how many mailboxes does Graphis protect globally? Because of a large user base, you get more warning of new types of attacks.
So that's a great question. So we have the number of active email boxes being protected are in high hundreds of thousands, close to 1 million. It's a great question because I also want to point out that Graphis is a cloud-native, cloud-based solution. So all the threats which are being detected across the customer base, the threat intelligence which is being generated is instantly available to our customer base, right? So if a bad email address or a bad URL is detected, that is instantly becoming available to everybody, right? So that is really adding to the efficacy of the system. And the slide I want to show you over here real quick while we are addressing that is that of the Truss Graph, right? So this Truss Graph that we built for each customer is available, to every customer. So when you come on board, when a customer come on board, they're hitting the ground running with all this information on other, suspicious or malicious senders and malicious attributes like bad email addresses, IP addresses, domains, URLs, etc.
So just for everyone as well, we just sent out a poll. For anyone that's interested in learning more as well, we'll be running throughout this Q&A. So put in your information. We can contact you about more of the pricing information, the offers we have, the marketing collateral as well. So we had some questions about the marketing collateral that we have available as well to help you sell this to your customers if you're an MSP. So if you're interested in any of that, please type yes on the poll. Or drop us a message in the chat as well.
Okay, thanks. We had a couple of questions while you were presenting Manoj about whether this was suitable for Exchange servers, which is clear, as it is only for hosted email like 365 and Gmail. But can it be used with hosted Exchange as opposed to physical on-prem Exchange?
So currently we are supporting it primarily for Office 365 slash Microsoft 365, as well as G Suite cloud email platforms. So the explicit support is not, there for hosted Exchange or on-prem Exchange.
Okay, that's what we thought. And another great question: if someone clicks false positive when it's really a threat, so what happens if they do that? Because the system depends on the end user to guess if it's right or wrong. So what happens if it really is a threat and it's been marked as not being a threat by the user?
So that's, again, a great question, right? So the way the false positive reporting from the Employee Shield works is it's a voting mechanism, right? So if somebody clicks false positive, it is not same as whitelisting the sender or the email. It's a vote that says, okay, one of the recipients, voted as it was a false positive. And those interactions for that particular sender or that type of email is is collected over a period of time. And once the critical mass is reached for the algorithms to say, okay, this is indeed bad, that's indeed a false positive, that's when that kicks in terms of using those indicators as harmless. So one individual clicking on false positive will not create any kind of a whitelisting exposing your organization to threats from that sender.
Okay, thank you. We've had a few questions about integration. Currently, Graphis is not integrated into Pulseway, but we are looking at we're looking at that, and when we get when we have users and we see what users are, then that will be added to our list. Another question for you, Manoj, from Jonathan, which is another good question. So you've talked about how many hours the product has saved in an organization, but how many? This is clearly, you can tell what Jonathan does for a living. How many extra hours does the Fish 911 put onto the IT help desk team? Does it create more work rather than less work?
Great question. So the answer is it does not create more work, right? These are the emails which may have been forwarded to you anyways, and you can actually get through Fish 911 alert in less than 30 seconds, right? It literally is, clicking on the close of the alert that brings up a wizard. You answer those questions by viewing what the portal is showing you for that email, the original view of the email, and then certain other aspects of the header, and simply and you simply close it, right? So it takes less than 30 seconds to do it. So it is not creating any more work. It actually is reducing and making you more productive, and it is providing a layer of security which is making the end users very comfortable, right? So currently the burden on them is on them, to recognize the threats, to identify the threats and not fall victim to it. With this, they feel more comfortable. And between quarantining, Employee Shield, and Fish 911, the number of actual Fish 911s being created is very, very little, depending upon the size of the organization. If you're dealing with SMBs, like let's say 50 users or less, you may not even see 1 or 2 Fish 911s a month. For larger organizations, you may see for 1,000 user organizations, maybe you can see 5 to 10 a month. So that is not creating work. It actually is making you more productive and improving your security posture.
Okay, and will this work with an external filtering service such as Barracuda or SolarWinds or the other gateways?
So it'll coexist with any secure email gateway. Now, as I pointed out, in my presentation earlier, that the email gateways, they live upstream, right? So Graphis will coexist with them without any conflict or interference. And of course, you don't need a secure email gateway if you're using Graphis along with 365 and G Suite. But the short answer is it coexists.
Okay, and do end users have the ability to look at their quarantined list and release them if they want them? And will these emails purge themselves after a certain amount of time?
So the way it works is The quarantine is available to the IT admin people through the MSP portal, and the efficacy of or the accuracy of quarantining is very high. It's almost 100%. The reason being, Employee Shield is being used to alert employees for emails which are in the gray area, right? So they can weigh in on it. And because of that interplay between Employee Shield and quarantining, what's being quarantined is really 100%, near 100% quarantined, bad stuff. Having said that, Graphis uses the deleted folder within the employee's environment as a quarantine folder, and it puts the warning banner on it. So if you need to allow or want end users to be able to accessing the quarantine, they can do it through the deleted folder, and the emails that have been quarantined by Graphis will have the Employee Shield inserted on those emails as well. So they know why exactly the email has been put in the quarantine.
Thank you. So can you describe the email security capabilities of being used as an email security standalone and not with other services like Mimecast or Proofpoint?
Andy, can you repeat the question, please?
So can you describe, I think, just a kind of an overview of what the email, the complete email security capabilities would be if Graphis is being used as a standalone solution with nothing else?
Yes. So as I said, Graphis is a complete standalone email security solution, right? So it is not complementing necessarily the Mimecast and the Proofpoints of the world. It can be used in conjunction with them, along with them. Now, if you are not using any other security solution, then Graphis is a complete security solution. It'll detect and protect against phishing, spear phishing, business email compromise attacks, ATO or account takeover attacks, malware, whether it is an attachment or in drive-by download, malicious links, which are either hosting malicious download ransomware malware or phishing attacks, any kind of social engineering within the content, right? So it is protecting against any and all email threats that you can get through the email. So it's a complete standalone solution. Now, Graphis is email threats or attacks detection, right? It is not a spam filter. It is not a spam filtering engine. But given that Graphis is used in conjunction or is used along with Office 365 and G Suite, so those two platforms are doing the heavy lifting on the spam filtering side. And when I say heavy lifting, I mean dropping the spam at the edge. Any spam that makes it into the inbox, meaning if those platforms were to miss, you can actually, through the Graphis, that those will be analyzed. And if threats are found, those threats are eliminated as well. So think of Graphis as a complete solution for your email security needs. At the same time, it allows you to coexist with other controls because some larger organizations may want to keep other controls in place as well. So there is no conflict.
Okay, another question from Jacob. Will marked email data be shared between clients AI? So will one client benefit from the actions performed at another client's location?
That is absolutely right. So yes, any threats which are detected either by the system or through Fish 911 and Employee Shield, the threat indicators of those threats or attacks are instantly available across the customer base of Graphis.
Okay, excellent. I think we're coming to the end now. So do you have a sandbox service that analyzes attachments and URLs prior to allowing the users access to potentially malicious attachments or URLs?
So that is correct, yes. So all the emails that are being, when emails are being processed, they have attachments in them, they have links in them. All those attachments are being sandboxed. The links are actually executed in real time. And if any payload comes down, that payload is being sandboxed as well, right? So anything that is coming into the system, being monitored and processed by Graphis is the attachments and links are being sandboxed. Now, in the product itself, right? So when you are looking at the alerts or Fish 911, etc., or the quarantine folder, you can request, the results of that sandboxing on demand in real time for your own analysis, right? So it's not needed for any protection from your end. But if you are, doing any kind of further investigation, then you can also, request those results for your review.
Okay. A question here: will it? Mail has guessed that it will not work with Godaddy emails.
That is correct. So Godaddy email is not supported by Graphis.
Okay, and then there was a question that I just wanted to check. Okay, so I think this is quite an important point. So somebody asked a question earlier while you were presenting about, can the location of the Graphis AWS instance be bound to a particular geographic region? So if they wanted to, for example, if they wanted to keep all their email in Canada, and I answered that because Graphis doesn't store any emails, so that really shouldn't be an issue about which country you keep your emails
Right.
in. I don't know if you wanted to comment on that.
Yes, so that's exactly right. I should have pointed this out in my demo, that Graphis does not store emails on the Graphis environment side. All emails are accessed through the APIs and processed in real time in memory, and none of the email related content or the email itself is stored. So it helps you with your local jurisdiction issues or laws, as well as privacy and confidentiality concerns, right? So Graphis is not storing any emails on the Graphis side. Only the metadata related with the alerts is stored on the Graphis side, and that metadata is encrypted, on the disk, and it is decrypted when you are viewing it through the customer portal. So no customer emails on the Graphis side. That's very important.
Okay, thank you very much.
Emphasize again, guys, there's a lot of questions flowing in, and there's a lot of functionality to the product. And if you have specific, we can dive more into detail with you individually. There's a poll running now. So if you're interested, click yes on that. So we can provide you pricing information, more detail about the product, maybe organize a personal demo, send you a PDF version of the slides. So don't forget to click register your interest in more information.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have, and a good few of you have actually talked about integration with Pulseway, and we'll certainly take that back and investigate that further. And if you have any follow-up, by all means, you should have my email address by andylwood@pulseway.com. Email me if you have any questions you have only just thought of after we finish. But otherwise, I'd like to thank Manoj very much for your time. And hopefully everybody found this useful. Tomorrow you'll receive an email with a link to the recording in Zoom of this webinar, but we are also live streaming on YouTube at the moment. So within the hour, it will be available on our YouTube page, Pulseway's YouTube page as well. So thank you everybody for attending. Thank you for your questions. And thank you very much, Manoj, for your presentation and demo.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.